When you say the words "the streak" to any professional wrestling fan, they instantly know what you're talking about. And that's the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. It's not undefeated anymore, but he once was for a long, long time. We're going to take a look back here at the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. See what we remember about it. It started off March 24th, 1991, WrestleMania 7. And his opponent, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. On a side note, if you haven't watched Dark Side of the Ring yet on Vice or Crave, check it out. They have an amazing episode on Jimmy Superfly Snuka. We won't get into that here, but we may make a video of that at a different time. But March 24th, WrestleMania 7, 1991, The Undertaker's streak began when he beat Jimmy Snuka at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Watch WrestleMania 7 about 1,000,000 times. That match was quick and short and did exactly what it needed to do to get the new Undertaker over. Jimmy Superfly Snuka wasn't the same guy he was in the early 80s. He wasn't on top of WWF at that time. They were trying to build the new Undertaker, and that match did a great job. For the old school fans, that was probably a bit of a shocker. But where I was 9 years old, turning 10 that year, was definitely a big fan of The Undertaker. Even though he was a heel, you could just tell there was something special about The Undertaker. He just drew kids in. He drew adults in. He drew everybody in back then. So he's 1-0. Going into April 5th, 1992, WrestleMania 8. He wrestled Jake the Snake Roberts. Now, Jake the Snake Roberts was huge when I was a child. At this point in time, obviously, there was no mention of the streak or anything like that. So going in, I was like, Jake might have a chance to win. He's got Damien, and Jake was just awesome. If he hit that DDT, Undertaker wasn't getting up from that, right? Well, 6 minutes, 36 seconds in, The Undertaker wins, defeats Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania. That was at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. So The Undertaker is now 2-0, heading into WrestleMania 9. A lot of people say that this is the worst WrestleMania of all time. I gotta disagree. I'm not a fan, double negative, of any of the WrestleManias. But if I had to put the least favorite WrestleMania, my least favorite WrestleMania of all time, it's 11. Without a doubt, WrestleMania 11 is my least favorite of all time. I don't mind WrestleMania 9. I've watched it way more than I've watched WrestleMania 11. But he goes one-on-one with the Giant Gonzalez at Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada. We're definitely going to do an episode on WrestleMania 9 someday. But just the image. We all know how big The Undertaker is. He was billed at what, like 6'11 and a half or 6'10 and a half for years. Giant Gonzalez is like 27 feet tall. The pictures and the video of The Undertaker standing face to face or face to chest with Giant Gonzalez is unreal. And that had to be the reason why they did this match. Undertaker going in at this point, he was 2-0. His biggest, tallest opponent at that point in time, if probably ever, right? There was nobody ever taller than Giant Gonzalez in the history of WWE. That match this is the longest WrestleMania match so far of The Undertaker, 7 minutes, 33 seconds, and he wins by disqualification. So not even a pinfall or submission. Giant Gonzalez able to get out without being pinned or submitted. So he's now 3-0, folks. 3-0. Goes into WrestleMania 11. They skipped WrestleMania 10. If you've watched Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, Conrad Thompson, they've said a few times that he was injured going into WrestleMania 10. And I also heard that they wanted to keep him fresh for his feud with Yokozuna. So They've said both of those things. I don't know which one is actually true, but you can decide for yourself. But yeah, The Undertaker not at WrestleMania 10, the 10th anniversary at Madison Square Garden. I was shocked as a kid. I remember watching this pay-per-view, loved this pay-per-view, great show, but it was missing The Undertaker for sure. So we moved to WrestleMania 11. He's now 3-0, going up against King Kong Bundy at the Hartford Civic Center. Now this WrestleMania for me, again, I don't mind it, but if you have to rank them, this one's the worst. If you ask me, where we go, 6 minutes 36 seconds. He beats King Kong Bundy via pinfall. They should have did like a casket match or something for this one if they were going to do a match against Bundy here, or even against Giant Gonzalez. It would have been one big casket, right? Like he did it with Yokozuna. He made that double wide, double deep casket. So yeah, he's now 4-0. That was April 2nd, 1995. We now go into WrestleMania 12, March 31st, 1996. Big Daddy Cool Diesel's, at that point in time, his last WrestleMania match. And it was his last WrestleMania match altogether, right? He'd made an appearance at 18, but he didn't wrestle. And he's going up, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, his last WrestleMania match before heading off to WCW to start the NWO for life, brother. And that's at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. And he beats Diesel in a fantastic match. They go 16 minutes and 46 seconds, and I absolutely love that match. If you want to watch a really good WrestleMania Undertaker match, watch Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Kevin Nash, take on the Dead Man, the Phenom, the Undertaker at WrestleMania 12. So he's now 5-0. 5-0. And we're moving on now to WrestleMania 13, March 23rd, 1997. I loved this WrestleMania. So many fond memories of this WrestleMania. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I loved the Chicago street fight that they did. Really enjoyed that whole card. This match was... Where am I? Yeah, this match was for the WWF Championship. He, of course, took on Psycho Sid Vicious. And they went 21 minutes and 19 seconds. And Undertaker defeated Psycho Sid via tombstone, right dead in the center of the ring. Again, nothing bad to say about this matchup. I'm a big fan of it. Don't mind it. Undertaker and Sid, two big men. You got to set your expectations. You're not going to see a bunch of flippy spots, which I'm not that much of a fan of anyway. I love the storytelling aspect of professional wrestling, and Undertaker and Sid did a really good job that night. I really enjoyed that matchup. Now we're moving on from WrestleMania 13 to WrestleMania 14, March 29th, 1998. We're deep into the Attitude Era. This was the WrestleMania that, in my opinion, made WWE go boom. Not Kofi Kingston, boom, 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 but it just took them to another atmosphere, another world. We got The Undertaker at the Fleet Center, Boston, Massachusetts, going one-on-one for the first time ever with his brother, the Big Red Machine, Kane. And I loved this match. WrestleMania 14, one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. He's now 7-0. It took multiple tombstones, correct? That's right? To defeat for The Undertaker to defeat Kane at WrestleMania 14. What a fantastic match. If you haven't seen this, go back and watch it. One of my favorite Undertaker WrestleMania matches of all time. Now we go to WrestleMania 15. March 28th, 1999. The first Union Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was a Hell in a Cell match against the Big Boss Man. A lot of people don't like this. Loved this WrestleMania. Don't mind this match. They hung the Big Boss Man. That for back then, at that point in time, that wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know if that necessarily aged very well, but they hung the Boss Man from the end. And I remember an episode of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, how they talk about how the thing spun and the Boss Man's back was to the camera, something along those lines. But Yeah, Big Boss Man, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker wins, now becoming 8-0 at WrestleMania. He's not at WrestleMania 16. I believe he's injured, if I remember correctly. Remember, this is wrestling memory, so we're going off the memories here. He, from what I remember, he came back at that pay-per-view after this one, or the one after that. He came back at Judgment Day, right? Judgment Day 2000, during the Iron Man match of The Rock and Triple H. Is that right? Let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he didn't wrestle WrestleMania 16. Loved that WrestleMania 2, by the way. And so we're going to skip ahead here to WrestleMania 17. A lot of people say this is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Such a fantastic show, top to bottom, at the Reliant Astrodome in Houston, Texas. There was like 60, 70,000 wrestling fans there. A lot of people remember it for the Limp Bizkit My Way video to hype up The Rock versus Austin. Now, rumor has it that Undertaker was supposed to wrestle Shawn Michaels on this night. Don't know how much truth there is to that, but Shawn wasn't in a way to wrestle, so Triple H took over that storyline, and it was the first of 3 matches for Triple H and The Undertaker against each other at WrestleMania. A much younger Triple H here at this point, and a fantastic matchup. Love this matchup between between The Undertaker and Triple H. They went 18 minutes and 17 seconds, and The Undertaker wins via pinfall. So now 9-0 at WrestleMania. Now, I've heard that this is where they realized The Undertaker had a streak. I've heard a few different stories on that, but this is the one where they realized The Undertaker had a streak going. It was WrestleMania 18 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at the Sky Dome, and he was taking on Ric Flair, March 17th, 2002. This match was billed as a no disqualification match, and The Undertaker defeated Ric Flair in a great matchup, and I believe Arn Anderson even did a run-in spine buster in this match. That's what I remember anyway. And Undertaker wins at 18 minutes and 47 seconds, becomes 10-0 at WrestleMania. 10-0. Now, we're going to move on from WrestleMania 18 to WrestleMania 19. This was a 2-on-1 handicap match. It's kind of weird for The Undertaker at Mania, but it is what it is. WrestleMania 19, March 30th, 2003, Seiko Field in Seattle, Washington. The Undertaker defeats A-Train, Prince Albert. He's Matt Bloom, now a head trainer, I believe, at the WWE Performance Center. And The Big Show defeats both of them in 9 minutes and 45 seconds via pinfall. Now, it took him less time to defeat... took him more time to defeat Ric Flair. Double the amount of time, just about, to beat Ric Flair, to beat Triple H, to beat Sid, to beat one guy, to beat Diesel. But he beat 2 guys, A-Train and Big Show, in less than 10 minutes of WrestleMania 19. Really good WrestleMania, by the way. And now we're moving on to WrestleMania 20. We're back at Madison Square Garden. The Undertaker had switched, starting at WrestleMania 17 all the way to WrestleMania 19. He was the American Badass, the biker Undertaker, not the dead man. So on March 14th, 2004, Madison Square Garden, he's taking on Kane once again. But this is the return of the dead man. Another fantastic match at Madison Square Garden between The Undertaker and Kane. This match not near as long as their first matchup. Their first matchup went 16 minutes, 58 seconds. This matchup between Kane and The Undertaker went 7 minutes, 45 seconds. Still a really great match. Kane sporting a different look. The Undertaker returning as the Phenom. The entrance for The Undertaker was really, really good there. A great WrestleMania. Check it out. All of these are on the WWE Network. So, now we're moving on. Now, here we go. I have something... here's where I thought, for the first time ever, since the streak was a thing, that The Undertaker might lose. We're going to WrestleMania 21. Staples Center, Los Angeles, California. Well then, I just noticed another little thing there about this one. This I just read as I'm doing this that this is where the Undertaker streak was giving its name of WrestleMania 21. That's interesting. I don't think I knew that little tidbit. So we're at Staples Center, WrestleMania 21, April 3rd, 2005. This match goes 14 minutes and 14 seconds, and he takes on the legend killer at the time, Randy Orton. This was the first time that I thought the streak was going to end. And if you were going to end the streak at any point in time, give it to somebody at this point in time, I think Randy Orton should have been the guy. It's a big argument among wrestling fans who should have been the guy to defeat The Undertaker. Should anybody have been the guy to defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania? I think it should have been Randy Orton, WrestleMania 21. Randy Orton was a young guy. He could have definitely, probably still have been using it. When was this WrestleMania? 2005? Could have been using it for the last 15 years. Absolutely. But Undertaker becomes 13-0. This was the first time that the streak was mentioned, apparently. So that's interesting. I remember, maybe it's the first time it was mentioned, but I remember a story where someone talking about WrestleMania 18, where that was the first time they realized it. Maybe they realized it but never mentioned it. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. So now we're going on from WrestleMania 21 to WrestleMania 22. It's a casket match at All-State Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. This casket match goes 9 minutes, 26 seconds, and he defeats Mark Henry. April 2nd, 2006, defeats Mark Henry to become 14-0 at WrestleMania. No bad memories about that. And The Undertaker did a dive over the top where he cleared both the rope and the casket, right? Am I making that up? I remember that happening. If that didn't happen, that should have happened. Undertaker, how agile and athletic was The Undertaker? It's crazy. WrestleMania 15, April 1st, April Fool's Day. They had two WrestleManias on April Fool's Day, eh? WrestleMania 17 and WrestleMania 23. This is at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. He's taking on Batista, Big Dave Batista, for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. This match goes 15 minutes, 47 seconds, and The Undertaker defeats Batista and in one of Batista's best ever matches, in my opinion. Great match. I think I heard that Pat Patterson helped laid this out match for these guys, and if that's true, he did a fantastic job. One of Batista's best matches of all time, in my opinion. Just a great matchup at WrestleMania 23. But The Undertaker becomes 15-0. And now we're moving on to WrestleMania 24. Citrus Bowl, Orlando, Florida. March 30th, 2008. The Undertaker gets his first submission victory, going 24 minutes and 3 seconds against Edge, the rated R superstar Edge. And once again, he won the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 23. He wins the World Heavyweight title here at WrestleMania 24. Edge is another guy that I think could have defeated the streak. Wasn't going to be Orton. I think Edge should have been the guy. Build those young stars. That's what I would have liked to see. One of those guys, one of those young guys, taking the streak from The Undertaker, but Undertaker goes 16-0. Now we're going to WrestleMania 25. In my opinion, one of the greatest matches of all time, and in my opinion, without a doubt, a lot of people say Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, but to me, that match doesn't hold a candle to WrestleMania 25, April 5th, 2009. The Reliant Stadium, Houston, Texas, 30 minutes, 44 seconds, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Watched that match a million times. If off the top of my head, greatest wrestling match of all time. If not, easily the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Undertaker, Shawn, WrestleMania 25. If you haven't seen it, why haven't you seen it? Go watch it. Stop this video right now. Bring up the WWE Network. Watch WrestleMania 25. The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. Undertaker, of course, becomes 17-0. And, yeah, I don't know. That matchup was insane. There's so many amazing things. Go watch it. So now we're heading to WrestleMania 26. University of Phoenix Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. The rematch. Career versus streak. It goes 23 minutes, 59 seconds. Now, I did not think Shawn Michaels was retiring, but I also didn't think The Undertaker was going to lose. And I was certain they weren't going to do a screw job finish here. But I had absolutely no idea how this match was going to go. None whatsoever. They had me hook, line, and sinker. Undertaker wins. Defeats Shawn Michaels, ending the career of arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Is it even arguable? Who knows? So many guys on that list, but Shawn is definitely like 1A, if he's not 1. Another amazing match, but if you go back and forth, I like the WrestleMania 25 match better, but the WrestleMania 26 match is also out of this world fantastic. Check it out. We go from WrestleMania 26 to WrestleMania 27 versus Triple H. This was a no-holds-barred matchup at the Georgia Dome. WrestleMania 27, April 3rd, 2011. He wins by submission at 29 minutes. This is The Undertaker's longest WrestleMania match so far. 29 minutes, 24 seconds. Defeats Triple H in their second WrestleMania matchup by submission. What an amazing matchup. Man, the last few Undertaker matches here at Mania have been outstanding. We move to WrestleMania 29, Sun Life Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels, special guest referee. End of an era. Triple H for a third time. Now, this match was longer than the WrestleMania 29 match. 30 minutes, 50 seconds. The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels tell one heck of a story inside Hell in a Cell. Such an amazing emotional roller coaster ride. If you haven't seen WrestleMania 29, Undertaker versus Triple H, Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels, a special guest referee, check it out. Then we move on to WrestleMania 29. CM Punk, 22 minutes, 7 seconds. Undertaker defeats CM Punk at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, WrestleMania 29. Fantastic matchup. Punk did a great job in the lead up to this match, doing some things with the urn. Another great Undertaker WrestleMania matchup. And that brings us, that sadly was the last match in the streak. They don't, okay. Hang on a second here, guys. That brings us to WrestleMania 30. And we all know what happened at WrestleMania 30. It was Brock Lesnar. Wait, what happened? Hang on, guys. Something messed up here. There we go. There we go. WrestleMania 30. It was in New Orleans, Louisiana, at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It was Brock Lesnar taking on The Undertaker. And what a matchup, guys. What a matchup. I really enjoyed it. Again, nobody thought Brock was going to beat The Undertaker. It was one of those matches where you thought, like, at this point in time, The Undertaker streak was secured for life, right? No one was ever going to beat the streak. Especially Brock Lesnar at this point. He'd come back. He lost his match to John Cena, his first match back. He had lost to Triple H at a WrestleMania. After he came back, what was that, WrestleMania 28? Something like that. So everyone just thought it was just another big matchup for The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but no. They shocked the world, and especially that guy sitting in the front row. You know the picture. Undertaker loses for the first time ever in 25 minutes and 12 seconds to the Beast Incarnate. Eat, sleep, suplex, repeat, Brock Lesnar. They delayed the music. Now, I just watched an episode of Something to Wrestle on this, and Bruce Pritchard, he wasn't there at the time, but he thinks there was only 2 or 3 people that knew. He doesn't even think the referee knew the finish of this match. That's why everything looked as awkward as it did. The music was delayed. Everyone was expecting somebody else to run down, restart this matchup. Oh my God, there was a mistake made, but no. That was it. That was the end of the streak. And they did. Brock Lesnar got 2-3 years. Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman got 2-3 years out of this. The 1-21-1. So they definitely got their money's worth, and they definitely shocked the world with ending the streak at WrestleMania 30. It was the talk of the world, not even just the wrestling world. It made headlines on TSN, ESPN, Fox Sports, everything. That's how you know you've made an impact on the world, is when pro wrestling is the lead thing, the lead story on Fox Sports, TSN, ESPN, and everything else. So now we're going to WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 32 had a crazy ending when Seth Rollins cashed in that Money in the Bank. Santa Carla, California, Levi Stadium. The Undertaker is taking on Bray Wyatt in a singles match that goes 15 minutes and 12 seconds. The Undertaker defeats Bray Wyatt. The entrances to those matches were really cool. But again, everyone probably assumed that The Undertaker's last match was going to be at WrestleMania 30 when he lost to Brock Lesnar. But no, he's back here. WrestleMania 32, defeats Bray Wyatt. So he's now still only lost 1 match at WrestleMania. Your next match, what WrestleMania was this? 31. Sorry, this is at WrestleMania 31. Did I just say 32? I don't know. So now we're going to WrestleMania 32, where The Undertaker was to take on... Oh, right. See, I could tell you almost every Undertaker match up to WrestleMania 30, and then it kind of since the streak ended, I don't know every match. I can tell you who he wrestled, but I can't tell you the order that they were in. He wrestled in 30 minutes and 5 seconds a Hell in a Cell match. This was his 3rd Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. Boss Man Triple H and now Shane. Undertaker defeats Shane McMahon. Had McMahon won, he would have gained control overall, and Undertaker would have no longer competed at WrestleMania. I remember that stipulation. Shane did that crazy dive, crazy jump off the top of the cage. How insane is Shane McMahon? This was right after Shane had returned, and The Undertaker here with another great performance. Shane McMahon and The Undertaker just tore it up at WrestleMania. Over 30 minutes. The Undertaker, again, still only 1 loss at WrestleMania. So this was WrestleMania 32, right? Yes. It was in Arlington, Texas, as AT&T Stadium. 101,763 people to see professional wrestling. That's crazy. Love it. Now here we are, WrestleMania 33. The Undertaker is set to take on the big dog, Roman Reigns. They go 23 minutes in a no-holds-barred match, and Roman Reigns defeats The Undertaker. Very controversial moment. The next night on Raw, Roman Reigns comes out and just stood in the ring, didn't have to say a word, and the crowd booed him for 10 minutes straight. It was amazing. If you like the storytelling of pro wrestling. That was it at its finest. They had those fans so mad. It was great. Roman Reigns, now, it would have been a bigger deal if Roman Reigns was the first guy to beat The Undertaker, not the second guy to beat The Undertaker. But even still, to be in a category with Brock Lesnar as being one of the only two guys to ever beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, that's still a very elite club. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of this matchup, but it definitely had the crowd. The finish had the crowd. They were not happy that Roman Reigns won. But storyline wise, it was great for Roman Reigns' career, no doubt. Then we move on to WrestleMania 34, which was held at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome back in New Orleans, Louisiana. Undertaker defeated John Cena in a squash match. Imagine, two of the biggest superstars of all time going one-on-one, WrestleMania, and Undertaker defeats Cena in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I don't know. Everybody wanted to see a great Undertaker-John Cena classic matchup at WrestleMania, but Undertaker was rumored to have been hurted for years. John Cena just apparently just wanted to put Undertaker over. The respect thing, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. I don't hate it, but I would love to have seen I know Cena and The Undertaker would have had an amazing match at Mania. The story they could have got out of a matchup in a real long feud, a WrestleMania level feud, would have been amazing. I would have loved to have seen that. But here, The Undertaker defeats Cena in 2 minutes, 45 seconds at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So now we're going to WrestleMania 35, which unfortunately was the first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 2000 to not have an Undertaker match. So nothing to report there. So we will move on to this year's WrestleMania, the one that just passed, WrestleMania 36, the WrestleMania that was too big for one night. And I absolutely love what they did with The Undertaker and AJ Styles in that Boneyard match. I also love the Firefly Funhouse match as well. So, Undertaker, AJ, they shot it as a cinematic matchup. And they did an amazing job with it. It's fantastic. Gallows and Anderson getting involved. All the special effects. It's fantastic. I think that's what they need to do for Undertaker matches now. I don't know, like, what do I know? But Undertaker, he's been wrestling forever. There's no way he can go out there and have those types of matches with Shawn Michaels, the types of matches he had with Shawn Michaels anymore, unfortunately. Even though as much as we'd all love to see it, it's just not going to happen. So I loved what they did with that match between him and AJ Styles. And here's what I think. Everybody has wanted to see Sting and Undertaker wrestle at WrestleMania. Even just for the entrances. I have two things they could do. This is the first one. Film another match like they filmed between The Undertaker and AJ Styles. Do the cinematic. Doesn't have to be a Boneyard match. They can do something else. But film a match like that between Sting and The Undertaker. And you will finally get to see Sting versus Taker at WrestleMania. Or they could do it live in front of the audience. Sting comes out, dead center of the ring. Undertaker comes out. They have their giant epic entrances. He comes out, dead center of the ring. They're face to face. The bell rings. And then all of a sudden, some random tag team's music hits. Whoever's hot at the time comes out, cuts a promo, blah, blah, blah. And they come down and attack The Undertaker and Sting. And they fight them off. and they squash them. It doesn't even have to be a tag match, but they could do a quick tag match. Sting can get his stuff in, Taker can get his stuff in, or they can just have a schmoz, a brawl. They hit their finishers, and then they stand there and raise each other's hands, or do whatever. And then you still get the Undertaker versus Sting's WrestleMania face-to-face entrances. And those are my ideas. But yeah, so that's the Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. Do I think it should have been broken? I don't know. It's hard. I understand why they did it, but it could have been like the thing. Is anybody ever going to touch the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania? Short answers, probably not. But should they have ended it? Maybe, but should they have ended it when they were for sure, and for sure in wrestling is not a thing, but should they have ended it when they were for sure knowing that it was going to be his last matchup? Probably. That's how I would have ended it. That's how you would have known that The Undertaker was going to be done for sure. That's my thought. End it with his last matchup. If you weren't going to end it with Chris Jericho, if you weren't going to end it with Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21 or Edge at WrestleMania 24. Those would have been my two picks back then, or even Roman Reigns now. If Roman Reigns and Undertaker was Undertaker's last match and Undertaker was defeated, give it to Roman Reigns, absolutely. And I know, I get it. You guys don't like that. But storyline-wise, they're building Roman Reigns to be the future of the company. What better way to build him than have him be the one guy defeated the Undertaker at WrestleMania? What do you guys think? Do you think the streak should have ended? Do you think the way they ended it was right? Again, I have no problem with ending it with Brock Lesnar. They got years out of that. Brock went on a crazy world title run, winning it multiple times, headlining multiple WrestleManias, making all kinds of money. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Should it have ended? Did they do it right? Did they do it wrong? Should it have been Orton? Should it have been Edge? Should it have been somebody else? Should it never been broken at all? Or should it have been waited till his last matchup? Let me know. Leave some comments below. Thanks for taking the time out to watch this video. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.